Sorry in advance if I'm awkward in the beginning. That always happens where I have to like warm up and I'm like, hi. Hi guys. And everyone's like, do you know what you're doing? I do. Hi everybody.
Hey.
Hi. Welcome back to Andsoph podcast. I'm your host, Sophie Wade.
Let's go, Soph.
Yeah. I'm so glad that I have another friend in the studio.
Yay.
Yes, actually the owner of this studio. If you guys were wondering.
We here.
There's so many fun things and deep things and raw things we're going to talk about. So this is my friend Alexis.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
So excited.
Alexis is a very passionate creative like me, period. And she's a community builder and she has such a great heart for people. And you also have years of experience running preschool centers.
I do.
Which you need to put people because they don't get it.
Look, we got the tea for business owners. We got the tea. We stir.
You're also really great at singing.
Thanks.
This Sunday.
Stop.
I had the honor of hearing her voice. I've heard you sing before, but this Sunday I was like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
like that was your moment. You're like,
I was like, amen. Praise God.
And you've also been married for 14 years and have mentored young marrieds and singles.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into the tea today.
I'm just grateful to be here. I'm really proud of what you're building and excited. I'm excited to talk about marriage mostly today.
Yay.
Because I feel like there's so much information out there. In this 14th year, I'm on a whole new chapter. Yeah. And it feels like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known this before. So I'm excited for when we get into that part of the conversation. Same.
Y'all need it. I need it.
Yeah, we all need it.
Anyways, y'all, let's get into it. I know you are from the Bay.
Yeah. And
then you came to LA.
Bay Area.
Bay Area. I've never been actually. I need to go.
Sophie, wait, it's 5.5 hours away.
I was curious, like, if there was any slang that you feel like is different from here that you used to use all the time that people here would be like, what are you talking about?
You know, it's funny. I stopped doing it so often, but I used to say hecka a lot. Ooh, that's, you know, I don't even say it as much anymore, but like, there's a new show in San Francisco called Co-Founders. My sister is one of the writers on it, and it's showing at ACT. Anyways, after the play last week, they came out and they were like, yay, area. Everybody was just like, yay, area. And just sounds. It's just a whole hyphy situation. People say fam all the time. I love that when you go there, it's very green. I think people are surprised that it's green. It's cold. It's much colder than here, but it's beautiful. You have some very real conversations. When I used to take AC Transit, I would have like 2-hour-long conversations with random people. They could be homeless people. They could be, you know, guys on the side just kicking it, you know, and I love that about being from there, you know, that it's very community. Obviously every place has its negative sides, but I like to focus on the positive. So I'm really grateful that that's my history and all my family's there. So
I love that. I feel like I got a little taste of what it's like.
Yeah.
Like I was visualizing it as you're saying.
By the way, we do road trips all the time. You need to jump in the car.
I do.
You do.
I'm down. Hearing you talk about that and talking about like the community, like I'm like, okay, I can see why you're the way that you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's like a foundation you built over there.
Yeah.
So I love that you were able to help bring that over here.
Thanks.
And I'm excied to get into that too.
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that's basically what we're getting into right now, like
Yay.
church and everything. But
Woo! I officially started well, you know what? Let me take that back. I got baptized when I was 13 originally.
Wow.
But it wasn't for real.
I feel that. I was 15.
Were you 15?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was a baby.
I just wish, I think at 13, I was young. I have some friends that got baptized at 13. They were super mature and bless their whole little soul. But I think I was really immature and I was focused on what people thought about me. So they were asking me real questions about my life and I was lying up a storm like, nah, I never did that, you know. But I wish I was more mature. I was focused on what people thought. And I think because my family was in church, I didn't want for their reputation to be, I don't know, to have a negative connotation. And so about 7 years later, I got really serious. And I felt like the Spirit every 2 years, kid you not, was like, if you don't be honest, I'm going to come for you. By 19, the pull was like, I'm about to come for your life if you don't blah, blah, blah. Like, that's how it felt. All my friendships around me, I started seeing the darkness of the world and was like, yo, I better take this as a warning, or else I don't want something worse to happen. By 20, I got baptized officially. And my husband, not long afterwards, started dating at 22, got married at 25.
Wow.
And yeah, that was a big whirlwind. I think for my faith, my marriage took a crazy turn for the first 2.5 years. It was really rocky. I can share more later when we talk about marriage, but we ended up really hurting each other. And I just didn't know how to be a wife. I was being trashy. I was being hood. I wish I was more mature, but I'm grateful that God can use it for his glory now. But that's where a lot of my church hurt happened, is in that time people didn't know how to handle a broken marriage. People were basically like shooing us away. They didn't know what to do. We ended up being left kind of out to dry. Like, y'all better figure this out because we don't know what to do with you. And I think because that community was where I was raised, that hurt so much. I was like, you're supposed to be my family. God was working through it all, so I wouldn't take it back. But I think the biggest hurt was that the people around me, like my friends, stopped talking to me, talking about me behind my back. These are people that I would do anything for. And my most sacred, hurtful time of need, they turned their backs. And they didn't come to me and ask questions. They just did what our ministry person said, There's been different times, over the years, but that would be the most like shocking, I think, because it was my first time. But I look at it as a lesson, so I can learn from that. But yeah, I'm grateful for the journey. I'm honestly grateful for the hurt. That sounds really weird. We can talk more about that later, but I'm really grateful for it, actually.
Wow.
So yeah, that sounds so weird saying that.
Hey, it's so
Yeah.
wow. That shows that you've healed too, because I feel like that is a very difficult thing to say and to process. And I just appreciate you sharing that, because I feel like that's not talked about enough. Like when you grow really close with the community of people, like I also grew up in church and like I cared so much about what people thought about me. And if you go through something that is like maybe out of the ordinary for people, like it can be really damaging and hard to trust people again, or like view God in the same way if you feel abandoned or you feel judged. And I feel like there's so much more beauty that comes when people are able to learn and understand and take that time. Because I feel like that's what Jesus would have done too. He wouldn't have been like, girl, you're too much. Bye. Figure it out. And I think that's really powerful that you're still able to be like, I don't want to villainize these people. I don't want to let this make me turn bitter or resentful towards, which is really hard. So
obviously we all go through church hurt. Majority of people do, whether it's super small or big. But I think our ultimate example is Jesus, where as he's getting nailed on the cross, he's like, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. I'm like, bro, I would be like, if you don't come for them,
y'all done.
But for him to look at them with so much compassion, that makes it like, how am I supposed to work through this? Like, I know there is a working through. I think I had to get there. How do I work through it and come out better? I mean, the Bible is huge, but I feel like if we're coming for the core, that's the example. Like, nobody has any excuse. You're getting tortured. You're literally innocent. You're dying for the sins of the world. Nobody cares for you. Like, what? I would come for everyone.
Everybody.
First of all, ask me if I would die for these fools. No.
Y'all
exactly. Including myself. I wouldn't even die for myself.
Wow.
So I think that is what helps me. Not the lawnmower.
I know, I'm like, during the most vulnerable part. Was there something in specific that practically kind of helped you to cope with that grief of, because, I know you found like a different spiritual community now that's been healthier and felt safer for you. Was there something that kind of helped you to cope with, like, I guess, transitioning out of that community and like the friendships and the deep relationships, the security of that?
This might sound weird. Because of the amount of pain I was going through, I think a lot of prayer, number one, a lot of prayer, searching the word. I think looking back now, I was exploring because I'm like, for that to be able to happen, when I first became a follower or a disciple or Christian, I didn't really think about that happening. I just thought, oh, I'm going to be with these people forever. Right. We're going to grow old together, which is beautiful, but I think after all of the pain happened, I began to explore, like, how am I supposed to do this? And I think in prayer and reading, you do see that followers would be in one community. Something would happen, whether it's, a disagreement or they're just going to move to a different place. And they had convictions between them and God. Okay, does a Christian need a community? Biblically, yes. I can't be by myself. That's not wise. Like, that's not what God desires. Not to say that you can't be faithful without a community. If we're talking like what God's preference is and what you see as a pattern is people need to be in community with each other. That's a conviction that I gained. Like, okay, I can't just be out here out to dry. And so when we went to the next fellowship, literally as painful and as scary as it was, I'm going, I know I can't do it by myself. I've seen where my marriage went, doing things my way, by myself, with my own wise marriage ideas. Like, that's not healthy. So just go to different people. I would watch people in the fellowship, like, okay, she looks like someone that is worth imitating, or like, I'm seeing this person serve, I'm seeing this person have deep conversations with people. And I'm grateful for those women that saw my pain and where I could say, hey, my marriage is struggling, and I know I've learned the pattern that I need community. And they would, God sends his angels, he sends his people, and they would wrap their arms around me. And as I would get more stable, I would be able to pour into other people. Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
I know.
I'm trying not to cry.
I know. It's hard. There's actually deep value in pain and suffering. With God, be like, I know something good is about to come from this, but can you help me through it? Or can you ease the blow?
I'll wait till they're...
I know. I was like...
I'm like shouting.
I had wondered if they were going to come during this time.
Oh, yeah. They chose the perfect time.
The perfect time.
Oh, it's okay. Sounds like a little lower
now.
Further. They're kind of... Before they were like, yeah, right here. Right here. Yeah, there was so many gems from that. And I feel like I'm honestly like, I'm listening from a place of where I'm like, I still need to get to that place too. And it is really inspiring for me to see that, because I remember when you were new and coming and I first met you and you were asking me a lot of questions because I had grown up there.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, this is the tea.
You sure did.
Yes.
I'm so grateful for that time.
I love seeing how much you've grown. Like, I see the community you've built, and like getting to that place of where you can now give to other people within that community and invite people into that community is, I think, something that people crave so much, but they can get feel so paralyzed in their fear or just so burdened by all of their hurt or all of their trauma and different things like that.
Overwhelmed. And it's interesting. You were one of the people where I was like, wait a minute, she's been in this community, and I saw your love for people, and I knew that you had gone through church hurt. And I think that combination, I'm like, you would be the perfect candidate. Where it's not like, yeah, this is the best place ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love a perspective where it's like both. I know that there's value in community, but I've also been really hurt. And so I think when we were sitting together, I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm getting what's that word? I'm getting like a neutral perspective. But there were people like you, there were other, people where I'm like, who can I get close to really quickly, spend time with, ask questions, glean. But I was like, I don't think you know how much that meant to me. So thanks.
And you felt like such a safe space too for me to share that stuff. Cause I was like, I didn't want to share anything where I was like, don't run. because I was like, that's not how I feel. But I was like,
Yeah.
you know, this was my experience, and this is why you may notice like these things like within church, because you can move to a different church community that could be really healthy for you, but other people could have gone through hurt there. Like there could be so many different perspectives. So I think it's good.
Yeah. Come on, lessons.
Come on. One thing that like a lot of people have also experienced in church hurt, including me, has been like where it feels like your boundaries are being pushed within like, I don't know, I guess the time that you give, the energy you give, the way, I don't know, like your convictions become like because other people told you to do something versus from the word. And so has there been anything that's helped you kind of create those boundaries? Because I feel like you are like a very giving person still. And so like, I don't know, like what keeps you sane?
Sane, okay. Oh man, that's a really great question. I feel like it's in phases, right? Because I feel like when we're new to faith, you're like, I want to give to everybody. I love you. Which I actually think is really beautiful. And so I'm really grateful that I had that time. I think over time, when people's sin gets exposed, their character, their past, you know, their own morale or their culture, that bleeds into their faith and can impact relationships, right? I think at one point I put all the walls up and was like, forget you, you know what I'm saying? And that I think is not pleasing to God. Like if we're just talking Bible, forget the churches and the communities we're in. If we're just talking Bible, one of my really great friends that we know, she says, just talk to me Bible, you know? Her name was Bree and she's fabulous. You know, you see the people together all the time and there are issues, but you deal, I think of it as a flow. It's like you're moving together. Like if you're locked arms with people and you're swaying together, sometimes you'll sway left, sometimes you'll sway right. But it's not like, ew, get off of me. Like I'm tired of swaying with y'all, you know? No, it's a flow. And that's scary. I've learned I am not anyone's savior. Jesus is. I'm blanking where it is, but it talks about how your only debt is to love. And so that helps me balance, because in my heart, I want to take care of everybody. I want to make sure everybody feels loved and taken care of and believed in and inspired and encouraged. But I'm one person. If they're not around me and God doesn't put them on my heart, He will take care of them.
Right.
You've been that giver in your ministry where you're like taking care of everybody. So many people. I know we've had that conversation and that's a role. Like that's a whole thing, you know, and sometimes people can take advantage of that. Asking God, like, what do you want me to do today? Who do you want me to love today? You know, and if there's somebody and they're not in your sphere anymore, pray for them. You know, if God puts someone on your heart, hey, just checking in. I know this is random. I've had to learn to be okay with things like that, you know, as opposed to always staying on people's line. Like, I don't need to always stay on people's line, you know. We're able to get closer to God and be in flex with what the Spirit is doing. I think when we stay locked, we do this in faith. You stay locked arms with the people in your community, and you just trust God's going to work in the movement.
Yeah, because I'm like, I also don't want to become the person that I'm like, nobody asks me anything. I'm scarred. But then I don't want to be back in that position where I'm like, I feel like I'm more focused on the logistics of being a disciple than like my actual relationship with God.
Yeah.
And so
that's no good.
Yeah. So finding that balance, I think, is super important to still not make our faith all about us, but also, you know, to have boundaries. And boundaries are holy. And God
boundaries are holy.
Yeah.
Okay, so creative process.
Yes, because you are creative and you've built a lot of small businesses as well, which I think is really amazing, and that you've stuck through it. Even with like this podcast, I was like very in my head before I started it. And so
I'm so glad you do this podcast.
Thank you.
It's so good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Topics, conversation, branding, everything. I think we talked about it actually a while ago.
Yeah.
And to see you execute is everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
And I would love to hear like if there was any like lies that in the beginning when you first decided to take this entrepreneur route that you kind of had to learn to fight off
I encourage every person that has the ability to be an entrepreneur. It gives you the most freedom. It can give you the most heartache and anxiety. But I think the lies are, it's already been done. Who's going to pay for that? It's not good enough. I don't have time. I pray through ideas. Actually, a lot of my ideas come through prayer. Like I go on a prayer walk almost every day. All of a sudden, I'll get really quiet, and it's like idea, branding colors, taglines, all that stuff. And I'm literally like, God, that's so good, you know.
Yes.
And then other ideas will be through my husband or, you know, like if I'm having a conversation. I know when we were talking about your podcast, and I'm like, oh my, like I feel like there are ideas for days. There are plenty of people that don't want to work for themselves, and that's beautiful. You know, I love that for them. But ideas are needed. People need inspiration. People are making money. Look at the online community. People are making tons of money. Why isn't that you? If that's something that you desire, why can't that be you? Is this something that God prefers in my life? So I have a bajillion ideas. I actually have a Google Doc. Like when they talk to me about an idea, and if I hear it on repetition, I'm like, so when are we doing this? Let's go. How can I help you? Because obviously you've been talking about this for like 5 times, and we need to get it moving because obviously you care about it. You know, I could go on and on.
That's so true. And it's like, I'm sure the people that are in a lot of like successful places once have these same thoughts too, where they're like, I feel like this isn't good enough, or no one's going to take this seriously.
Yeah.
And so it really is about being able to overcome those fears and not let those thoughts like dictate your actions.
Yep. Or even when you have the thoughts, like, is that actually true? Whether it's a small business and it's just a few people that it impacts, or whether it's a bigger business like the preschool communities. Now that I'm very comfortable building communities and really working with families and parents and building employee teams and making sure that they feel inspired and encouraged. My confidence is, very high, but it didn't start off that way. If I'm looking at scriptures and going, if all hard work turns a profit, or like whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as though working for the Lord, not for human masters. Colossians 3:23. I need to have this concept of hard work, allness, wholeheartedness, and it will make a profit. Yeah. Great. That's a truth. That's a universal truth, whether you believe in God or not.
I feel like that's also, like you were saying, even with the getting ideas and stuff, like that happens to me sometimes too. And I'm like, stop.
So much.
Right. Or I'll like record in a voice memo and be like,
yes.
This needs to happen.
Listen to this.
Listen to me.
And so if somebody else could wake up and have a dream, and I'm waking up and having dreams, why are we any different? You know what I'm saying? They just took the leap of faith. We're all capable.
All of us.
Right. You.
I was wondering if there was anything that you've launched, like either creatively as an artist or with your preschool communities, that it was kind of like a learning curve where you were like, this did not go as planned. And I wish I could turn back time.
For sure. Oh, the amount of businesses and ideas. With my music, that's something where I wish I would have I wish I would have taken it more seriously like I do my other businesses. I think now, and not that music is done at all, but I think now that I know the intentionality it takes and the consistency it takes, cool, bet, let's go, So when I'm ready for that chapter, right now my new business is my health, my fertility, making sure that I'm super focused on my health and removing as much anxiety from my life as possible, being business owners. But yeah, my music, I think, was my biggest lesson. I love music. I love writing. I love writing for other people. I love creating experiences for people that bring inspiration. For a lot of musicians, it's like, oh, I want to make music. We about to record and da 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 da, which is beautiful, and people should do that. But if we're talking, I want to make this my career, you have to treat it as building a business. Copyright your music. Make sure that you have contracts when you work with people. Make time. If anything, it's make the consistent time to not only write, but record and release. Even when I do the launches for schools, because now we help other people open up their own schools, and you do the marketing for it, and you do the pushes, and you have different seasons for different things. Now I know, great, I can go and put that into my music when I get to that chapter. I wish I would have delegated consistent time. You know, I think in my insecurity, and I think I didn't know my sound. You know, I was trying to figure out my sound. I'm grateful people like my voice. I'm really grateful for that. I like that people like to work with me. But you know, it's natural to go, okay, cool. If that's the sound that you want to work with, let's go, you know. Right. But I wish I had the confidence at the time to go, well, this is my sound. And cool, we could collab, but we got to do a collab so I can be consistent. And so I think it was dealing with the insecurity of, I want them to feel happy about me, and I want to make sure that, you know, I'm vibing with them. And it was mainly about other people when God gave me a gift and a purpose. And there could have been actual collaboration, not conformity, you know? Ooh, yeah.
There is all these logistics of running a business, like you said, like that you can take the time to learn more about. Like, it's okay if you're not an expert about it now because you're new, it's fine. But emotionally as well, I think that's so important, because it's easy to want to conform, like you said, and people please as well. And when you're still figuring yourself out, other people might try to define that for you while you're in this vulnerable position. And so I think that's so important to learn those lessons too, of standing up for yourself and trusting you'll find the right people, the right support system, if you really care about something and you have your values in front of you. And I think I've learned that with this podcast too, for sure, because I was like, let me just talk about what everybody wants to hear. You know, what they've heard me already talk about in real life. And
trending
I was like,
topics,
right? Trending. Before I think I talked about like Nicki Minaj in here. I was like, why did I do that? Like, I was like, who am I? I was like just trying to find like, how can I make everybody interested? But I felt most at peace when I was like, God will lead me to the right guest on this podcast. And everybody I've had on here, I feel like we've just pulled stuff out of each other where we're like, oh, we weren't expecting to talk about that. But everybody's been like, thank you for speaking on that. So I'm like, it's so much more peaceful to be authentically yourself and take that time to learn and be a beginner than just trying to be something for other people, because it's going to get draining and old real quick.
Yeah, it is. And it's nice to see you be yourself. Like, even in your short reels, like when you're giving shout outs and all that stuff, you can tell you are being yourself. It's not it's not super calculated. It's not, you know, oh, this is trending, so let's talk about this. We get to hear that, and I'm not coming for anybody that does trending topics at all, but people do need to have real conversations. And so I love that you allow space for those needed conversations, you know, so here for it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're like taking care of yourself too outside of your businesses. Like you said, your health. Like, I feel like that's, like you said, that's a business too, and taking care of yourself and learning more about your needs and everything during this time is equally as important to be successful and thriving. So
we have employees that are counting on us for their paycheck.
Right.
That's like, and we even to calm my nerves, thank God for my husband's business ideas as well, and for us collaborating, because we have to realize what is I'm blanking on the word, what is a way of business that can help pivot, or that where we can pivot so it's not so strenuous on my nerves.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Or else, it wreaks havoc, in my case, on my hormone system. Because of that high cortisol, high anxiety. Oh my gosh, I gotta make sure that, you know, people are showing up, and, you know, we gotta make sure we hire people and make sure that our clients are feeling happy, and make sure, you know what I'm saying, we're getting reviews, and we're building, you know, brands and building communities, and make sure everybody stays happy. That can, for a woman especially, wreak havoc on our hormone system. And so I'm excited. There are so many ways to do business now. You can literally, people are doing podcasts. I mean, it's a whole brand now that you can have a career sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience, opening your space. That's a whole career to have now. That wasn't a career. And my husband was like, okay, if this is harming you, though it's making us decent money, it's not worth it for your health, your sanity, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's something where we had to reimagine what can we do. My memory was failing. My vision was getting crazy, like burning up hot, getting hot flashes. I'm like, I am not here, you know? So,
Yeah.
so I'm really grateful, even starting another, now that we've pivoted our businesses and we're doing more consulting and things like that, it gives me time to focus on my health and start a brand on that. So really excited about that.
I'm excited too.
Me too.
Yay.
It's called the Whole Her XX because females have 2 X chromosomes. So I'm really excited about that. I feel like if someone's wanting to do business, I would check in with your health first.
I think that's so amazing that you're able to inspire people through where you are right now, because so many of us need that reminder to take care of ourselves too, and listen to our bodies when it's like we can't like give in the same capacity, and like you said, it is worth it. So I'm excited to hear more about that from you.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, needed. The stress levels. I get so stressed. It's scary.
Sophie, get it to what?
I'm like the open mic.
Yeah.
That's
not
our business.
You did
but it was an
so
event.
great. We need to do more. We need to do more.
We
of
do.
those. Yeah.
The day after, Blair was like, I'm so excited for the net. I was like, the
Hold
net.
on, I know.
The net, and everybody was like, it's gonna grow bigger and bigger, and I was like, you're right. Okay. I just gotta learn how to manage my stress, because I love event planning.
Yeah.
And when something's on my heart too, I'm like, I want to do it. I want to do it.
Yeah.
But
And it was done so well. Like it was so excellent. Even in you hosting I could hear the Andsoph vibes in the hosting. I was like, this is perfect. It was so good. Yeah, it was great.
I'm glad.
No stress, but I do look forward to the next one.
Yay. I'm excited. We've learned now. We've learned.
Yeah.
We went through the trials and tribulations, so that next time it'll be like Coachella.
Yeah. Hey.
$25 a body.
For somebody to pay $20, $25, $35, that's nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps people to respect what you've put time in for them, for their enjoyment.
Now I'm like, if y'all paying for Kendrick Lamar, y'all can pay for us.
It's true. It's true. And he only did that because he believed.
He knew.
Yes. He said, I gotta believe.
I'm like, next event, I'm like, $100. Whoa. You're like, no, I can't go. I will not be there. You're so sick. And you mentioned your music briefly too.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, like, if there's any like new projects you have coming up for your music.
So it's funny. My original sound before was more R&B. R&B, hip hop type of thing. Actually, more R&B. It was more moody. To be honest, it was when my marriage was really going through a rough time, and so you could hear it in my lyrics.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, somebody was like, Alexis, let me look for your music on Spotify. And I was like, yeah, I think I might have a song on there. I didn't realize I had like songs on there, and I'm listening to the lyrics. Like, my music has shifted, and it's more, I call it like inspirational pop hip hop. It's just more up, bright. The goal is for anybody, mainly women. I wrote it mainly for women, to hear it and go, yeah, this is an important conversation, you know? But it's more bright sounds with deep lyrics.
Yeah.
So, and dancey and stuff like that. There are plenty of songs that have done incredibly well that were barely mastered. Right. In somebody's garage, like, yo, this is going, you know, like, this is going to turn up.
And in their closet. Yes.
So I'm like, if they could do it, I do not need to have 5 versions of a song. If you have the opportunity to mix and master, great. If not, still release it. There are ears that want to hear it. Thanks for asking about that.
Of course. I guess we can get into our last topic.
Yeah. Ooh, juice.
You've been through a lot within your marriage. And I know you mentioned like this, you said the 14th year has been like very like extra eye-opening for you.
Yeah.
And you've also been able to mentor people as well with the things that you've learned and healed through. Whatever you feel like comfortable sharing. You don't have to share everything.
Yeah, I'm here
or you
for
can
it.
give spark notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, spark notes.
Spark note. Spark note, because I know
Y'all
not ready.
Life is crazy.
Life is
right?
crazy. It is. And I love being able to learn from different people and like hear their stories and be like, wow, like we're not the only ones going through the things that we think that we're the only ones.
Nope.
Going through.
The only ones going through the only ones, because we the only ones going through the only ones. That sounds really weird. I'm deeply, deeply grateful for everything, because I feel like it helps me to have my perspective, though it was really painful. I want to make sure I honor my husband for sure. I wish that I would have at least understood I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's great, because I'm new. But I think I went in like, I'm going to be great at this. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be a great wife. I'm going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a catch. I'm whatever. Oh, there's so much, Sophie. I wish I would have had the maturity. I had the maturity to pause. So if something hurt my feelings, not to retaliate. And unfortunately, to my shame, I retaliated in a physical way. If I felt verbally disrespected, I physically responded, which is never do that, ever. I did that until another grown woman, and it's crazy because she passed away now, maybe a few years ago. She was my mentor at the time, but she literally said, if you hit your husband again, I'm gonna hit you. And I looked at her like, I know you didn't say that to me, whatever, but I'm so grateful the way that she looked at me. And granted, by the grace of God, my husband is so kind to me to deal with my foolishness, because he could have hurt me so bad, my immaturity, my pride, to disrespect him in that way to a grown man who could have deeply retaliated, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm actually really grateful. And it's hard because as a Black woman, you're raised to be strong. You're raised to, in a way, be masculine. And so I wish I didn't have that perspective. Like, I need to prove myself. Like, we are together. And so if I do something that hurts you and you're expressing to me in displeasure, in maturity, I need to have a mature stance. I don't need to retaliate. I need to seek to understand. I think in our first year of marriage, I probably retaliated like at least 3 to 5 times. Wild.
Yeah. Wild.
And again, I'm really grateful. I know there are some relationships where it can get, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I think I wish I would have sought help more, been more vulnerable with other women to ask advice. And more than anything, just embraced humility. If I could put it all in one, embrace humility. If there's another woman sitting in front of me and it's an opportunity for me to be vulnerable, embrace humility. Hey, this is what I'm going through. What do you think? Well, can you pray for me? Or, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Take responsibility. That's embracing humility.
Thank you for just sharing your story, like, very authentically. I really appreciate that, and I'm grateful that you felt like just safe enough to do that here with me. And I know it's like the first time that I'm getting to hear more about that as well. And so it's really powerful for me to hear that and to like hear how far you were able to come and how you're grateful that you were able to have like the shift in mindset about that, and you can apply that today. And I think that's really beautiful that God still saw this relationship in the future, this marriage in the future. And even though you didn't know how it was going to be able to heal and get back together, you both were willing to come together and heal through that. So I'm really grateful to hear that.
Me too. If anybody's even thinking about marriage, my number one requirement was, and I know we're going to talk about singleness, but I feel like the number one that I believe has kept our marriage together is that we both subscribe to the Bible. I do believe that marriage can work outside of the Bible. However, I believe that the Bible's way is where you get that life to the full, that, you know what I'm saying? Even if there are people that are unbelievers that are married, it's still principles from the Bible, you know? This is a man that loves God. Let me at least honor God through respecting him, through learning him. I think if I had that maturity to go, let me just learn about him. Our wedding day was our first kiss, our first everything.
Here we are, y'all.
Yeah, when they closed that hotel door, that was
I'm terrified.
And don't get me wrong, he is a fine.
You're like, yeah, I was so scared.
So that wasn't an issue, but
Yeah.
it was still very vulnerable.
Yes.
And new, because you end up learning together. So everything about my life of intimacy in that way, I got to build with my husband. That's like amazing, you know, but it comes with the best of that and the worst of that, you know. And I've heard him a lot through my pride, through me thinking that I know it all. Who like, even when you say it out loud, you're like, girl,
who really know it?
right, exactly. In your heart practice, I am a helper to what God put on my husband's heart to do. I feel like that's people don't like that one. And on his end, do you love her enough to where you're willing to lead her the rest of your life? Now I feel like God's like, okay, we're gonna peel a lot of layers back in the, you know, on the heart onion. To where I'm like, I need to embrace my husband's dreams, goals. It's not about building my own. And that's hard, especially as creatives. Sure, we get to build things, not saying that we don't get to be business owners and, you know, have all these ideas. But if you're deciding to be married, I think this is where a lot of marriages fail or suffer. And I'm speaking to my own marriage, when I am focused on building my own dream and supporting my husband, like that. I'm building my own dream, and I'll support you. No. Ooh, this isn't a popular topic. I know. I'm like, you're like, oh. That's not a popular perspective. They're equally important roles. Not him place me under him, and that's where a lot of marriages struggle. He's real. I love that he wants to please God. He's not going to force me to do something that I don't want to do. What type of leader am I putting myself under? Don't have to be perfect, but I need someone that values God. That's my one requirement. He's a very honest man, very hard worker, very visionary. And then it's like the icing on the cake that he happens to be so beautiful. But that's not what really stopped me in my tracks for him.
I feel like you literally need to have a podcast.
Man.
Girl.
I know.
Because this topic, we could really talk about
we
it.
Could
all
for
day.
Days. Yeah.
And
it kind of bled into your like singleness.
Yes. Because I was like,
man, yeah. You got me all comfortable in here. I'm about to tell my whole life. Tell it all.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for asking.
And of course, with singleness, I guess, like, I know you were able to like pull from like before and everything. And I was really curious on like what your thoughts were. Cause I feel like in singleness, there's been a lot of like conversations about how to deal with like, you've heard of situationships, right?
Situationships.
And
I'm not a fan, but yes.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I'm not. And yet I found
Here we are, right?
Yeah. When I hear you talk about marriage and stuff, and then when you think about a situationship, it's like two people that maybe they have a really good chemistry or a really good connection, but one person's not willing to commit or both people aren't willing to commit, and
Yeah.
eventually it's just gonna, like, even if at the time it just feels like, oh, this is just fun
Mhm,
or
mhm.
whatever, you're
Mhm.
gonna, after that, you might realize, oh, I was so emotionally
Yep.
over-invested
Mhm.
in this.
Way too over-invested, yeah.
Yeah, like situationships can be emotional too. Like, I know that originally it was supposed to be like
Mhm,
physical, but
mhm.
it can be emotional.
We are emotional beings.
Mhm.
And I've had so many situationships. I thank God that they didn't go physical,
Mhm.
you know, but emotional, you could have you could get married and have kids emotionally. I think the times when it hurt, it will always hurt. Situationships, I believe, will always hurt one of the people.
Mhm.
I've been hurt where they expected more from me than what I bargained for.
Yeah.
Or what I even wanted or desired. There have been guys where they're like, we're supposed to be together. And I'm like, with who? Right? I thought we were friends. My lesson for that, this is also not a popular teaching. Do I believe women should have a bunch of guy friends?
You don't think so?
I think, now, I'm not saying you shouldn't.
Yeah.
I think a woman, now it's different if you're like teen or college and you're just learning yourself and all this stuff. I think it's about being intentional. You know what I'm saying? There was a period of time where in my singleness, I was literally trying to relearn how to have relationships with men because I disrespected men. I didn't value them. I was like, why do we need them? Does that mean that there aren't great men out there? I think that it is tricky to have a lot of male relationships as a woman and can be confusing. You could do whatever you want. You know, it's free for all, do whatever you want. But I've learned, wow, I've used a lot of men in situationships because I've tugged on their heartstrings. You are a beautiful, talented, hardworking, dare us say godly woman. Why wouldn't you be 100 out of 100? Because you are.
Healing through my relationships with men and trying to figure out, like, recognize more of what that actually looks like and checking myself too. But right, I was like, girl, I'm checking myself too. Okay?
Right.
I do love in my female friendships to be like really close, really vulnerable, do life together. I love talking about deep things, like, and I really do care about my friendships. I care about that the same with the men in my life. And I've noticed that, like, there's been some guy friendships where we don't really talk often, but we still have like a soft spot for each other, as friends, and just like, it's nice, but it doesn't look the same as my female friendships. But with the guys, where it was like, we were talking all the time. I'm telling y'all all my business, all my lore, all my emotions, because I'm talking to you. I'm listening to all these things you're sharing. I just noticed that it did build like an intimacy that at the time we thought like, oh, we're just brothers and sisters in Christ, you know? Like, but then I was like, whoa, why am I feeling attached to you? All of a sudden I would see it and I would get scared. I'd be like, oh no, I would never see them in this way. They're like, oh, we're just friends. And then I'm like, I'm relieved, but then I'm also just like, huh? Right? It's okay if it looks different. It's okay if it has boundaries. We don't need to talk about the same things that I talk about with other people. And I'm learning that, and I'm trying to make it consistent, even with guys that it's like, I would tell you my entire life. But then other people where I'm like, oh, okay, I have to cut this all out. But it's all out. If you feel good about all your guy friends, we are.
It sounds really funny, but I would have 5 guys and 5 girls where I'm like, I'm going to be building community with these people. The 5 guys, I would be very clear. Remember, agreement. What do you agree on? So they knew my purpose was to learn what a godly relationship, a godly friendship with a man looks like. They knew that was the intention. It wasn't like, hey, I'm, you know, like, how you doing? Like, none of that, you know? So they knew, and they expressed back, I need that too. Those 5 friendships with the guys became really great friends. Some would start dating, so I'd add another one. Some guys, I'm like, I admire their character. Others, I'm attracted to them, so I'm curious. Others, I respect them. Others, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Over time, it changed, but I became more intentional, and I just had to keep communicating. Others, I really made a mistake, and I let it go too far. And those were the, like, you don't like me? Like, we're supposed to be together. And I'm like, I clearly said we're friends, you know?
Yes.
Fair enough. Good lessons, you know?
Right.
But to this day, some of them were all still pretty close, but there's a respect there. We worked together, you know?
Yeah.
Their wives are still grateful. Like, thanks so much for, you know, loving my husband, for teaching him how to blah, 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 and vice versa.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're going to have friends, have to be super clear and keep the lines of communication open. Yeah.
Yeah.
So situationships, friendships, yeah. Over communicating. I think the ones that I've learned from, they really got hurt and like bitter and like never want to talk to me and just angry at the world. And I'm like, I can take some responsibility for that for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good lessons.
If you still are wanting guy friends in your life, which I think is a good thing, great thing, and like that clear communication, like just being able to make sure the expectations are said and that no one is expecting something from you that you can't give or vice versa, whatever. Like, I think that's so important. And it's like, you don't know what those friendships will mean.
I love that we're talking about this because I think as a single woman, like I said, beautiful, talented, hardworking, godly, like, it's so attractive, but it's kind of like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
You know, like, how do I move? I feel like that conversation is such a big one, you know, which obviously you're doing that. You're having conversations. You are exploring, you know, and asking yourself. And it's exciting because you're around other amazing women, you know, and able to grow together. And so we about to find Sophie's boo.
Things are going to be okay.
It's going to be great.
I don't have to stress out and shut down.
Yeah.
We're all learning, just like you had to learn to get to where you are right now.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Good conversation. I feel like you pulled out everything, and it's like it's like a perfect flow. So hopefully people are really encouraged.
I think they will be. Yeah. And I'm grateful for everything that you were like willing to share and felt comfortable to share. Like, I feel like everything in all the different areas was so helpful to hear. And like, for me too, I was just like, I could sit here all day. Like,
I know, I literally was like, oh wow, we could talk forever.
The camera's like,
part two.
Right. But like, okay. Next one, okay. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yay.
I'm grateful for this friendship that God brought together. And I'm excited to keep growing deeper with you and continue to getting to know each other and see each other thrive in our healed eras.
Not striving, thriving.
Thriving.
Right.
Exactly.
I love your expressions.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And thanks for watching. If you want to continue to listen to the podcast, you can subscribe on YouTube if you're watching the video version, or you can follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And I'm also on Instagram at Andsoph Pod.
Yes.
And on TikTok at Andsoph.
So on Instagram, The Whole Her, it's The Whole Her XX, or at The Whole Her XX. And then on YouTube, it's the same, The Whole Her XX. Yes. For more of these conversations, I also have a 21-day fast that I'll be posting soon.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's like health. It's the whole her. It's the whole experience. So I'm excited to share more. Yay. Thanks for letting me shout that out.
And thank you for letting me come back here like time and time again.
I love this.
To record these.
This keeps me inspired.
Thank you.
It does. We need to have coffee and go through this whole like next chapter.
We do. I'm like, I need to scheme.
Yeah.
I need to scheme. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Great job.
Great job for you too.
Awesome.
I cannot wait to listen to this back.
Oh my gosh.